Hi everybody, it's Darlene with Darlene Coleman Coaching, and today we're going to talk about anger, and then a little bit later we're going to do some tapping on it. Anger is an interesting emotion. Many times people are afraid to feel their anger, and then other times people feel their anger all the time and express it in a variety of ways, and I'm sure you probably know some of these people. But I want to say about anger that it is a useful emotion in many circumstances. For example, there can be constructive anger. Let's say you witness a social injustice, or maybe you see somebody being attacked and suddenly you feel angry and you go over and help that person, and you do. That's where that adrenaline rush, etc., can come in, and that can be helpful. It's also not healthy to suppress anger, because if you're feeling anger, you need to let that come out, or it will come out or show up in other ways, and many times it can get stuck in parts of our body, like your liver. Many times people who have liver issues are actually really angry people, and that anger isn't getting expressed in a healthy, constructive way. So I just want to start by saying that anger can be healthy. But today we want to talk and tap on some of the anger that maybe is a bit more destructive. And this destructive type of anger would show up, for example, let's say you're in your office and something doesn't go the way you think it should, and you blow up in the office and you chew out your boss or the secretary, and it creates a problem. Maybe you even lose your job. That's destructive anger. And many times that type of anger can show up because you're feeling resentment, or it can show up because there's this desire that's not getting met, and so this frustration builds and builds and builds. And then we act out in unhealthy ways. I find it interesting, just a note on society, it's interesting that people are more comfortable expressing their anger than they are love. Just a quick little funny story. A friend of mine attended a Christmas Eve service with me, and before he went, he said, "Now I don't have to hug anybody, do I?" So, even there's an uncomfortableness about sharing that level of intimacy sometimes in public, but not so much with anger. People can act out all the time with their anger. So when we tap on this anger today, we're going to be dealing with the destructive type of anger, the type of anger that gets in your way, the type of anger that prevents you from moving forward or prevents your relationship from healing. And as an aside to that, there's also something called narcissistic rage. And that's the type of person who, if they don't get their way, just completely acts out and creates havoc all around them. That's a different type of anger altogether. However, tapping can be effective if you can catch that in time when you're beginning to have those feelings come up. So that's just the introduction to anger, a little bit of information about how that works. And then also just to note that sometimes if you have experienced a traumatic brain injury, a concussion, you've fallen and hit your head, and then you suddenly notice that you're feeling different afterwards, that can actually be an indication of a brain injury. So if you have a concussion and then suddenly you notice that suddenly you're having these, outbursts of anger, you might want to go and just have a brain map or a brain scan done and just rule out that there's a physical problem creating this type of emotion. So with that being said, we're just going to take a brief pause and start tapping. Okay, so now that we've spoken about anger, we're going to do some tapping about it. First, we're going to tap on the physical sensations, and then we'll move into some of the corresponding emotions. All right, so as usual, we always start with the karate chop point. And again, you can do it this way, this way, this way, this way. You can tap both sides of the face at once. It doesn't matter what order you go in. It's easier to remember if you start from the head down, but either way, as long as you do it, that's what matters. Okay, so here we go. Even though I'm angry, I have this anger, I feel this tightness in my chest, this constriction around my face, my head, starting to develop a headache, this pounding in my temples. Even though I feel angry, I deeply and completely accept myself. Top of the head. Even though I have these symptoms of anger, I'm feeling angry, feeling frustrated, feeling worked up, I deeply and completely accept myself. The tightness in my chest, the pounding, throbbing head, the constriction around my throat, the constriction around my brain in that facial area. Even though I feel this constriction, I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger. Even though I have this anger, I know I'm okay. I'm starting to calm down. This anger. I choose now to allow myself to let go of some of this anger, and I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger, tightness in my chest, the tightness in my throat, the constriction around my face and my head. And even though I feel this anger, these symptoms of anger, I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger, even though I have this anger, I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger, tightness, the constriction, pounding, throbbing headache. Even though I have this anger and I feel worked up, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I'm so angry, I'm shaking, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I'm so angry now, I can't even speak. I'm so angry, I'm shaking, I've got a headache, got tightness in my chest. And even though I'm angry, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Side of the eye. Even though I have this anger, this tightness, this shaky feeling, the feeling like I want to scream and act out. Even though I have this urge to act out with my anger, I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger, the feeling, the tightness in my chest, the tightness in my throat, the throbbing head, this shaky feeling within me, the sick to my stomach feeling. I'm so angry, and even though I'm angry, I deeply and completely accept myself. Under the arm. This anger, I feel so angry, but I'm willing to release it. I'm willing to let it go for now, and I deeply and completely accept myself. So now that we've done a round of that, we're going to do something called the 9-point stimulation process. Now you're going to want to do this. Let's say you've done several rounds and you're still not really coming off of that feeling of anger. So we're going to try to reorient the energy in the body a little bit better, and hopefully your EFT will have more effect after we do this. So in between the pinky and the ring finger, there's this little place, little gamut or gully. You're going to be tapping there, and as you do that, I want you to follow along with me as I do these following motions. First thing I'm going to do, keeping my head completely straight, I'm going to look down hard to the right and back straight. Now I look down hard to the left and back straight. I roll my eyes in a big circle clockwise first and counterclockwise. Now I hum a few bars. Count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and hum again. What we've just done is activate 9 areas of the brain so that everything is working together. So now let's try to come down off that anger a little. Okay, so even though I have these feelings of anger, this shaky feeling, this tension in my body, this frustration that I'm feeling, I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger, this shaky feeling, my inability to stop chewing on it, the feeling of tension and tightness in my body. Even though I have this anger, I deeply and completely accept myself. This anger, even though I was feeling worked up, I'm willing to release it, I'm willing to let it go, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I get angry, I love myself anyway, I know I'm a good person, and I'm working to let that go. Even though I have this anger, I deeply and completely accept myself. This tension in my body, the tightness in and around my chest, this shaky feeling, the feeling like I'm going to break out into tears at any moment. And even though I'm dealing with these feelings of anger, I love myself and I accept myself and I know I'm a good person. Under the arm, even though I have these feelings of anger, this tension, this shaky feeling in my body, the crying, the wanting to act out, and even though I have that, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel like I'm not understood, even though I feel like I'm not validated, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel disrespected, even though I feel like people don't talk to me the way that they should, or they talk to me in unkind ways, and that makes me angry. And even though I'm dealing with that, I love myself and I'm open to releasing this anger. Even though I feel unvalidated, even though I want something that didn't go my way, I'm willing to let that go. I'm willing to just observe and be with it, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though my needs aren't getting met and I feel frustrated, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel stuck in a situation and it makes me angry, I'm willing to the possibility of changing that, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel this frustration, I don't feel validated, even though I feel disrespected, even though I feel abused in some way, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel this anger and frustration, I'm willing to release it. I'm willing to come back into alignment, and I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though I feel this anger, even though I feel disrespected, even though I feel not validated, even though I feel frustrated or stuck, I deeply and completely accept myself. Good. Now just take a nice gentle breath in through the nose and allow it to come out through your mouth like you're blowing on warm soup. Okay, so check in now and see if your level of anger has dissipated a bit. If it hasn't, go back and do a couple of more rounds. But I also just want to mention here briefly to just sit with the anger. Just notice the feeling, observe that pain that you're feeling. Don't try to analyze or label it. Certainly don't label or judge yourself for it. It just kind of adds more misery on top of the misery you're already feeling. But just be with it. Be okay that you feel like that. It's really in how we manage those feelings and then how we judge ourselves for having that feeling in the first place. So just know that it's okay that you feel those things. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. And certainly doing the tapping can help with that. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, you can certainly contact me in the link below. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you. Namaste.